Oh, I wasn't live yet. All right. Well, good. Okay. Okay. That's perfect too. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Garage Grit Live. Whether you're joining me live or catching this on the replay, I'm glad you're here. Let me know in the comments what shop you're with and where you're watching from. And just as a reminder, these sessions are always better when you're part of the discussion. Now, just earlier this week, we launched episode 18. During this live broadcast, we're going to be talking about episode 17, but we just launched episodes 18, and episode 18 was a little bit different. It was a brand new part of our series called Origin and Impact series, and Kevin from Illinois was our guest, and so we're very excited about that. And if you had already subscribed to our podcast on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, then you would have been notified when that happened. But you may have missed it. So let's correct that so that you are notified next Tuesday when episode 19 is launched. All right, another Origin and Impact story. And if you enjoyed watching 17, Chris from one of those three panelists is our next guest on the Origin and Impact story. So go check out those stories and let me know if you've got a fun story to share that is, I don't know, just if it feels good, then let's share it. Let's talk. Let's reach out to me and let me know. But now the purpose of this live series is this is 3 of 3 digging into podcast 17 interviews to integration, building strong teams in the auto repair space. If you missed last week's episode 8, we kicked off the conversation by tackling the hiring process, the red flags, the importance of clarity, how to find the candidates that align with your shop's culture. And we actually put a lot of emphasis on how important that last piece was. Just because they can turn a wrench doesn't mean that they're necessarily a good fit for you. So go check out that podcast as well as the previous live episodes, the 2 and 1 of these 3-part series. And I love feedback. All right. Change the direction of something or talk about a topic, or if you want to add to that topic, then I am anxious to hear from you. All right. But at the same time, we're talking about this hiring process, and I still want to be very clear with you. I'm not a auto repair shop coach. I'm actually an auto repair shop marketing person. And my company, I'm one of 2 principals of AA Shop Marketing, helps shops like yours grow in the digital strategies, right? Tailored to your business. And we actually do we have a framework that we use, but then we dial it in with each and every shop because every shop's a little bit different. And the whole point of the Garage Grit podcast project is to help as many shop owners as possible move forward, take that next step. And so, along with AA Shops Marketing's principle of that transparency and also helping shops move forward, if you want helping figuring out your next marketing move, I'm happy to run some reports and happy to help you figure out your next best step. I'm not talking about a pitch. I'm not talking about a proposal. I'm not talking about pressure. I'm just talking about, I'll tell you your next step, no strings. Okay. And so if you want to walk through your next step, then why don't you drop next step in the comments or reach out to me directly and I will follow up with you after that. So let's dive in. All right. Part 3 of 3, onboarding new hires. This is the next piece of this hiring journey. So you found somebody, right? So now what a lot of people just kind of say, okay, bring your tools, get started on Monday. But that's kind of dropping the ball. All right. Because you're assuming that every new tech or service writer will just figure it out and it'll be some hiccups or some rust spots along the way, but they'll be fine. Onboarding a new hire, in my opinion, isn't optional. It's how you make a new hire stick. Okay. I kind of feel like if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. So I'm a big proponent of having a simple outline of how you're going to onboard somebody. This onboarding process is going to cover everything from how to clock in to how you want them to communicate with their customers. I believe it was Chris that described on the podcast, the moment someone walks into his shop, every candidate goes through a multi-stage interview that's designed so that they'll make sure that they'll mesh with the team before day one. And it actually makes the onboarding process a lot faster for him because they already feel like they're a part of the team the moment they walk in, as opposed to becoming part of the team. We're not just hiring a set of hands. We're hiring someone who be a part of the team, said Chris. So that means the culture, the expectations, and the process need to be clearly laid out from the jump. Now, Mark shared, I believe it was Mark that shared that they bring in candidates in for kind of a working interview. They come in for the day, they meet some of the staff, and they get input from those key team members before making a decision. Now, Jen has a much more casual approach, right? She even commented or joked about how we usually just do one interview, and if they show up with boots and tools, then we might just hire them. But we also talked extensively about how Jen's been doing this for a little bit, and she trusts her gut on who is a good fit and who's not. And so, that's not duplicatable. It works for them. That's great, and I love that. But if they need to hire somebody while Jen's on vacation, that's probably not going to happen, right? Because her gut instinct isn't around. So I encourage you, the listening audience. I appreciate the casual nature of Jen's approach. And again, if it's working for you, God bless. But at the same time, your next step forward might be to document what you're doing so that it can be duplicatable, so you can pass the torch to somebody else. Okay. And all of this is emphasized to just kind of hone in on the fact that if you hire the wrong person, that could actually cause more harm than good. All right. From a marketing perspective, you can end up with a series of bad reviews, that poor workmanship or that poor attitude. So, and I am a firm believer that attitude is actually more important than their speed that they can turn the wrench. How do you guys feel about this? Is this a debatable thing? Are there coaches out there that want to weigh in on this whole process? Do you also agree that written down is best because you can't apply Jen's gut feeling to the hiring process because you don't have your Jen, or maybe you do have your Jen and your gut is working great for you? Tell us about your experience. Tell us about it. Post it here. And if you have a written down process, then brag about that as well. And if you were going to mix things up, what one thing do you wish you would have told a new hire on day one? And what are you going to do about that going forward now that you've kind of thought about that? All right, once they're on board, how do you keep them growing? So that separates what a shop with a revolving door can be with a strong core team. They keep that retention in place. So are you training them on an ongoing basis? Are you doing ride along, lunch and learn, scheduled time for watching training videos? Chris mentioned that his team is given on the clock every week to engage in continuing education, from technical resources to customer service development. And I think that if someone has a roadmap, it brings clarity, right? A clear career path can actually be motivating, be helpful on that front. Jen commented about how they will hire somebody with a particular skill with a particular manufacturer or make, but they'll expand the training to bring them up to speed on some of the other makes. Mark said that they don't just cross train for the heck of it. I don't think that's his exact words, for the sake of it, maybe. But it's about knowing their strengths. And so one guy might be a go-to for alignments, another might be for timing chains, but it's still good to have that cross training for the depth of the bench. Okay. Now let's close this out with some real talk about shop culture, accountability, the hardest part of leadership, firing. Hopefully you won't have to do it, but eventually, actually, you will. Accountability doesn't mean micromanaging. It means clear expectations with consistent follow through. The other thing that we talked about during the podcast, and again, check it out for yourself, episode 17. Culture isn't about Pizza Fridays. It's about how you handle the mistakes, how you show appreciation, and how you lead by example. Chris shared how his shop uses peer-reviewed, team-based hiring process so that the whole team has a buy-in before the new hire even starts. And that openness culture, or that it kind of fosters respect and accountability. I personally don't think people quit bad jobs. They quit bad leaders or bad coworkers, or it's usually a personal relationship that is kind of leading the numbers on that. It's not that they never quit a bad work environment, but a lot of times the work environments are a result of the people, not the actual physical space. On episode 17, we also touched on the, let's sigh right here, the emotional toll of letting somebody go. Everyone on the panel admitted that they've hung on to somebody for just too long. And I love that small businesses across America and auto repair shops are among that top of that list on trying to work with the people to help them improve, help them be better in their community and in their lives. But sometimes a bad apple's a bad apple. And the expression of bad apples spreading ruins the bunch is legit. So it's actually sometimes makes more sense to just take that deep breath and according to Chris, but you better be good. It's easier to let someone go right at the beginning. As soon as you know it's not a fit, that the longer it drags out, the harder it can be. And that was an insight from Jen. And Mark also added that they go out of their way to not hire experts anymore, right? It's anybody that has that kind of, I'm going to say arrogance, to think that they already know everything. Then or anyone that said they've never had a comeback is lying and dangerous. Let's be honest, right? And honesty is part of those one of the transparency and cultural keys to the shops. All right. So what's the one thing that you've done in your shop that has improved your team morale, or the accountability? And if any of you want to share a quick story on how you waited too long to let someone go, let me know, or drop it in the comments directly. But onboarding sets the tone. So if you get it right from day one, then hopefully you'll have fewer people that you'll have to fire. Training is not a luxury. It's not a thing that we can do when we just have a lower car count temporarily. It's got to be mapped in, planned in, and it's how you grow your team into leaders. Culture is not built with a single interaction. It's built over time. But if someone's not a fit, then maybe help them find a fit somewhere else. But you got to let them go. So, all right. So let's thank you for that. Kind of wraps up where we were at with episode 17. And thank you for tuning into this 3-part series on hiring, onboarding, and team leadership. We've got a new topic coming next week. I think we're actually going to talk a little bit more about our Origin and Impact series. So go and check them out prior to next week's live event. And by the way, as always, if you're ready to take the next step in marketing, whether that's recruiting, retention, or just getting more cars in the shop, let's chat. You can put shop growth in the comments, or just reach out to me directly or shoot me a DM. I'd be happy to help. Again, no pressure. We're going to start out by talking about your next step because I want to help as many shops as possible. That's the purpose of AA Shop Marketing. And that's the purpose of the Garage Grit podcast project. And thank you for being a part of it.